Coming back to the idea of network-centric statecraft, something that is very interesting is the idea of leveraging these networks in such a way that small powers can punch far above their weight. And the salient example that we sort of touched on a couple of times in this conversation is the UAE. I guess I'm quite curious to figure out, they've been called a master of warfare by delegation, building networks of local proxies, private military contractors, allied militias, to project influence across the Middle East and Africa, and also in cyberspace, which is pretty interesting. I guess how would you make sense of this? Like, how does this actually work, and to what end?
Well, the end is UAE national interest, Emirati, Abu Dhabi national interest. So it used to be a country of 7 emirates, right? It used to be a federation, where most of them were somewhat equal, but was supposed to be a rotation of power. What we've seen over the last 15 years or so is a centralization of power in Abu Dhabi at the expense of the other 6 emirates, particularly at the expense of Dubai. And that centralization of power in the hands of the Al Nahyan, which is the ruling family of Abu Dhabi, was very much translated into statecraft as well, where Abu Dhabi is controlling all these networks as well. They don't only control governance, but they also control the agenda for the UAE. And so when we talk about Emirati interests, they're primarily Abu Dhabi interests, and then secondarily, they might be more widely, more broadly Emirati interests. The UAE has been, and you mentioned violent non-state actors. Yes, the UAE is an absolute great convening power for violent non-state actors. They've been creating their own sort of axis of resistance, as the Iranians have. They have a massive network of violent non-state actors, whether it's from the LNA in Libya to the RSF in Sudan to the STC-affiliated groups in Yemen. Then obviously backing Wagner Group and financing Wagner Group.
In West Africa?
Across Africa. I mean, so Wagner Group would not be operational on the African continent if it wasn't for the infrastructure they're using in the UAE for money laundering, for gold laundering, for using private logistics companies to fly mercenaries in and out. And so the UAE have developed the massive hub of networks that they can offer to anyone. And that kind of has established them as a hub, a global hub for finance, a global hub in information technology. I mean, we talk about AI and crypto and cyber power. They're a power in these kind of security networks of violent non-state actors, logistics networks. What else? Other tech networks. Whatever network you can find, the UAE have developed into a regional hub, and then in some cases also an international global hub.
With a strong centralized core
very
and
strong,
a very diffuse periphery, as you say.
Yeah, and with high connectivity to Asia, to Africa, to other places of the world, great energy networks as well. Again, all kind of coming together in the UAE. For a country of 1 million people, 1 million citizens, that's quite remarkable.